right, welcome everybody to Monday Expert Interview. My name is Dave Cooper. Manufacturing solutions for offsite construction projects requires a plan, input from various stakeholders, a pipeline, and what else? Multi-million-dollar investments in building technology companies seem to make the headlines every day. There will be winners and losers in this high-stakes game. So before you head out on your next capital raise, join me today with Crate Modular CEO Rick Rosicky as we explore the questions that you need to ask before opening that state-of-the-art manufacturing facility serving up off-site construction solutions. But first, we are only able to deliver these informative conversations thanks to our sponsors. So a big shout out to Carson Holmquist and the team at Stream Logistics. They are experts in high-stakes freight, and they are the perfect choice for projects with timelines and a specific delivery sequence, shipments with high complexity and unique constraints. The new methods of construction need new transportation solutions, and they are up for the challenge. Learn more at streamlogistics.com and tell them that Dave Cooper sent you. Also, a big shout out to our good friends CombiLift, the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, an acknowledged leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free, that's right, I said a free warehouse and site optimization design service. More than 50,000 CombiLift units have been sold in over 85 countries since CombiLift was established in 1998. CombiLift is dedicated to helping companies of all sizes from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big shout out and thank you to Paul Short. Check him out on LinkedIn if you don't know Paul Short, and the team at CombiLift for helping us all build it better. Learn more by visiting their website at combilift.com. All right, let's hop into today's show and bring Rick in. We got a lot to cover and a little bit of time to do it in. What's happening, Rick?
Not much, Dave. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Rich. So we're going to jump into this today. We got a ton to cover. You guys are making headlines. You're building amazing projects. You're doing multi-story stuff using containers, and you're looking at hybrid approaches in the future. But like we do with everything, Rich, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we may have to bring your mother on the show. But you only got 2 minutes to do it, and then we're going to jump into all the nitty-gritty details. Go for it.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Rich Rosicky. I started my career off actually as a construction lawyer and was in private practice for about 7 years. And then moved in-house to Champion Home Builders, which is now Skyline Champion. It was working in the general counsel's office. And then ultimately I got an opportunity to take over a commercial division that Champion was running called Champion Commercial Structures, and kind of was able to lead the company into the Marriott Modular Initiative program. And then from there, I moved on to Z Modular, which was a startup that I think most folks on this webcast have heard of. I was there when we were just starting out and was able to help grow the company to 4 manufacturing facilities across 3 states and 2 countries. So, from that, moved on to Crate Modular, and I've been here now for about 1.5 years, Dave, and we're doing some really exciting things here. It's a pretty exciting time to be the CEO of Crate.
Yeah, well, it is exciting. I mean, it's exciting for the industry in general, right? But if you actually are a CEO and own a manufacturing facility or even work in a manufacturing facility, it's exciting times because the lines are full and everybody's hopefully, getting paid and people are working, and that's always great for us in our industry. And we're growing with new technology, and you guys are looking at new technology all the time as well. Why don't you give us a little background on who Crate is? What problems is Crate solving? Like, how did the whole thing come together?
Yeah, so Crate was founded with a conviction that 3D modular construction is, the wave of the future, and it's a way to provide sustainable, fast, and quality solutions. Historically, the structural backbone for the Crate system has been repurposing shipping containers, which was really born out of the sustainability aspect of our mission. Over time now, our customers have started to ask us to examine new solutions that might be a little bit more dimensionally flexible. And also, as we kind of look at the state of the shipping industry and the availability of containers and some of the regulations that are now being placed on the requirement that to build with repurposed containers, you have to use single-use containers. And the cost of those is going up, and we all know the issues that we've had with logistics. And so, our customers have asked us to start exploring other solutions. So we're kind of at this really unique spot in Crate's history where we're going to be continuing to build our world-class container solutions, but also now exploring a little bit more flexible hybrid steel solutions.
So, just so people understand, what is a one-use container, and why is there a rule around only one time can a container be used? I want to know for my own purposes.
Sure. That's a good question. People ask that all the time. And so a single-use container is something that ships like dry goods, one-way items from overseas to America. And so generally those containers are, like I said, only used for one time. And so from that, their useful purpose for shipping is kind of over with. And so they get, taken, converted into buildings. They get used for storage solutions. There's all kinds of things that happen to them. And there's a huge demand for those now. You see a lot of, the supply chain challenges that we've been facing is causing people to try to onshore more of their supply. Right. They obviously need places to house that. Containers are a good solution. And so that's kind of leading to the scarcity of them. And then really the reason why those are being used for buildings versus, just taking any old shipping container is really the amount of, I guess, first of all, it's the way it's designed. So they're designed to, be for a single use. So there's not corrosive materials in there. There's not, certain unenvironmentally friendly products that are used in those. And then generally they are in just much better condition. And so if you're going to be using those for habitable or educational structures, that's where the desire is born out to use those.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about Crate's manufacturing capabilities. Where are you located? How big is your facility, your team? Give us kind of the nuts and bolts of what you have going on.
Sure. Yeah. We're located right in the heart of Los Angeles. We're about, 20 miles from downtown LA, 20 minutes from downtown LA. The factory location is Carson, California. We're right at the intersection of the 710 and the 405. So we're right at the major freeways, and we're able to ship product anywhere in California and to other states, including Arizona and Nevada.
And are you currently shipping to all of those states and have projects going on?
We don't have any projects yet in Arizona, but we're looking to, and we're also exploring some projects right now in Nevada. Primarily, the bulk of our business is in California. There's a lot of people here. There's no shortage for demand for new buildings. And everybody knows about the challenges that you face when you're building things in California, from the regulatory issues to the just dearth of labor available to build things.
Right. Yeah, when you would think with containers and supply, it wouldn't be a problem. If you're in LA, you're right at the port there. You should be able to have your picks on these things.
There was a time when we did, but as those rules have kind of changed, that's where it's limited the pool of containers that we can repurpose. So
sure. So let's walk through the process. Here I'm a developer, I'm a healthcare facility, I'm a school, and I need a new facility. You guys are using BIM and 3D modeling and all these things. Can you walk me through what the customer experience would be like if I were to work with Crate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we're really focused on providing our product in the manner necessary for the way that everybody is looking to design projects these days. It's all being done with 3D BIM modeling, which is building information modeling. And so that's kind of the backbone of how we operate. And what we're trying to do is be able to create a digital twin of our buildings. And that goes down to designing into kits of parts, and in a manner that allows us to really break things down by assemblies. So by virtue of doing that, we're able to really then push forward digital tags of our products and specifications that are going into buildings, which then allows us to really go from a BIM to a BOM, bill of material, in significantly less time and with much more precision than is historically used when you're just drawing in 3D, but then converting to 2D for your shop drawings and BOM compilations and things like that. And so by virtue of doing that, we're helping to try to do two things. One, short circuit our design process so that we can get to our backlog quicker. And what I mean by that is really creating standards and details and standard assemblies and all of that stuff that we can give to clients so that we take the mystery out of how you design a building around our system. And that's all done in a virtual world that's given to them. And then we walk them through that process so that we can ultimately get to this period of time where we have this digital twin product tagged with information. And then ultimately, there's automated shop drawings that are spit out from that.
Right. But the virtual one is the most valuable to me because not only for the consumer that's, buying the product from you, they can visually see what they're getting. But, this comes into the product, the process and equals the progress. And we talk about this on the show all the time. You get into using digital twins, BIM to BOM, all of those fun things. But having that digital twin or having that BIM process, can you just tell us the value that brings to you when you're working not only with the consumer, but what has to happen with the BOM out in the factory floor?
Sure. Yeah. So the value it brings to the consumer is they can see a 3D recreation of their building, what it's going to look like. They can walk through it, every nook and cranny of it, including where, studs are and where, screws are going. And so it allows for an immense level of clash detection amongst all of the MEP systems, structural and all of that. Then when you take that and you break it down into the kit of parts and the assemblies that our methods are breaking it down to, it then creates a digital bill of materials that we create, a floor assembly shop drawing, and it breaks down each part and piece that goes into that. And so what that does is it allows us to have a very high level of precision around the material content, which provides the customer more certain pricing and the best pricing possible. But two, it also allows us to reduce waste and increase the sustainability of the building by virtue of that reduction in waste and only buying what you precisely need to build that project.
So, Rich, you've been in this industry a long time. You were in traditional modular, manufactured housing, and you've seen this industry, come a long way. Let's people are out there wanting to start manufacturing facilities. And if you were 10 years ago, before you were with Crate, walk us through what are the three things, people should be looking at before they start offsite, manufacturing. What would the solutions be? What do you wish you would have punched yourself in the head, 10 years ago, or wish you had 10 years ago that has changed your life so drastically now?
So I think the lesson I've learned is you have to nail your product before you scale it. And that's scaling it not just across multiple locations, but scaling it within your own offsite manufacturing facility. And so what do I mean by that? I think the first thing is you have to clearly define what your product is. That starts with construction type. Are you building a type 1 or a type 2 construction product, or are you building a type 5? Because that's going to then dictate what are your standard assemblies. For the large portion, modular builders, I think, for a long time haven't been successful because they may not necessarily define those standards, and they allow architects and outside entities to do that for them. And what that does is it doesn't allow you to really think through your product and then ultimately define your production methods around it. And I think part of that also nailing your product and clearly defining it is you got to set a base level of specifications. What is it that you're going to put in it? Because that helps you start setting up your supply chain. And so I think when you have all those three things figured out, then really your next step is to figure out how do you define your process around that product that you've created? And that's where you got to really look at, okay, what is the plant layout? How much room do I have? What type of manufacturing process am I going to use? Am I going to use a cell manufacturing process, or am I going to use a different type of manufacturing process? And so you need to lay all of those things out, and then you need to tailor your production around that. And you really got to be disciplined to understanding, each little minute step that goes into that. Because then that allows you to do what you always say, product plus process equals progress. Right. And that's where, those are the two key things. And then I think the third thing is embracing that technology where it's available. And then once you've figured out how that technology works and how it fits within your system, then you can incrementally look at automating your production processes further down the line.
You know what? you said it so clearly. You're absolutely right. You do not need to start off with high automation. You need to understand what your process is going to be and how to use your process in the most efficient manner, and then build into that process your automation with BIM and other tools. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, my experience is that with robots in modular, they work really well as long as you're building the same thing over and over again. But
Yeah.
once there's any variation introduced to that product mix, then the robots are like anything. They're just as good as the information that's fed into it. And so that's where I think, before you invest all of that money going down that road, I think you got to get everything nailed down and probably go through a couple of iterations of your product, build a building, what worked, what didn't work, what could be done better in order to make it go together quicker and more efficiently in the field. So all of those things I think need to be thought through. And then, really where it all starts though, in terms of being able to get to automation, is working in that virtual design environment, where you're utilizing things like Revit and Inventor and, in a lot of cases, custom products that are being created to help do that. And then when you can clearly create your product in a digital world, then you can go and figure out how to do it in the built environment.
That's right. And I mean, you're absolutely right. And I can't stress this enough. We have a lot of people that reach out to us about wanting to start manufacturing facilities, investors looking to get into manufacturing facilities, or just somebody that, has a crazy notion that they want to be in manufacturing, which I sometimes scratch my head because it's not easy. I think that, the digital side of this, having BIM and having the technology and just having simple laser layouts and the basic stuff is really all you've got to use to get started and then build from there. I got a question here from Steve Burrows. What's happening, Steve? He's out in your neck of the woods in California. How early in the process are costs fixed? Single sourcing removes competition, so early price certainty is key.
That's a good question. So, what we like to say is generally we can lock in a cost or price for a project by the time you're at 100% design development. So really before you've begun the construction documents, I would say that's to go into a contract GMP price. Prior to that though, at various portions of the design development process, you can get to a pretty good cost certainty, usually around 60%. So I would say by that time frame, that's really where you're getting into, okay, this is the budget. And then really that period between 60% DD and 100% DD is when you're maybe looking at doing your value engineering. If there were some things you're trying to, some areas where you're trying to bring down cost. And then, it also allows you to maybe take a look and there might be a more efficient way to put a building together. So generally that's why I say you'd have 100% cost certainty. But the beautiful thing with modular, especially when you're kind of are building a product, is that very early on in the really, let's say the sales cycle, we're able to give you a number that's going to be within, 15, 20% of where your final budget's going to be, provided that, we didn't get crazy with the specifications or there wasn't some really, odd structural issue that required, some clever solution that was expensive.
Sure. Oh, that the cost certainty is what makes offsite construction, whether it's modular, panelized, it just helps out so much when we look at those things. And to me, my biggest question, Rich, is, with modular, with using the shipping containers, where's the value difference between building traditional modular or modifying these containers come in for crate on the sustainability side on all of this? Walk us through your thought process on this.
Yeah. So, from a sustainability standpoint, we think both options, exemplify that core value of ours. Yeah. And so from the container side, obviously you're taking a container and you're recycling it, which, gets something put to use that otherwise maybe it wouldn't have had. On the other side, when you're building a hybrid, system out of hot rolled and cold rolled steel, you're using steel, which is generally going to be somewhere between 80 and 100% recycled. So both both construction types really are sustainable, or at least similar from a sustainability standpoint. I think from a cost standpoint, really it depends on the ultimate intended use of the product. I think shipping containers, can be very good for certain products. We do a lot of homeless shelters, transitional housing. We have, educational facilities we've done with those. So I think a lot of it's going to depend more on the product type and the intended use. And so I guess I'll leave it at that. What we're finding though is that, maybe the scarcity of containers and really, the cost of them as well is, at least at the moment, making our hybrid solution more cost effective.
Right, for sure. And so now you have this process in place. Let's, when do you get to the define and refine of your product? When does it come time to edit what you're doing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because we're going through that right now with our first hybrid project. Yep. This came to us with a design that was already done, and we were able to have some commentary about it. We changed a few things, added some hot rolled steel to make the structures a little bit more robust and easier to stack. But we were kind of left with certain elements of the old design. And so as we've gone through it, we've recognized that there's a lot of things that we would probably change on a go forward. And so, that has given us the opportunity now to take the feedback, because we've already started building this project in our factory. And so we're already seeing some things that, okay, this is the way it was drawn in the drawings, but now when we look at it in terms of constructability, we got to change this, or maybe we should have, reduced the stud counts in certain areas. So there's a lot of things that we're learning. So I wouldn't say that you're going to be able to build your product, define it once, and then, take it through and say, all right, we've got it. Now you may, especially if you have a proprietary system, but I think there's always going to be a little bit of a learning that goes along with it. I mean, frankly, if you don't learn from each project you do, you're, probably not, you're leaving a lot of good, valuable information on the table. What really, there's going to be a point where you get to the locked in, okay, this is how we want to do it. These are the structural members. This is where we want to route things, so that there's not that kind of variation. But, I think it's going to take a couple projects before you get full understanding of what your issues are going to be.
Well, you know what? Even when you do this for a long, long time, if you make any changes in your manufacturing, there's always going to be something learned, right?
Yep.
And that no matter how long we've been doing it, and if you're just getting into this industry, you need at least 3 projects before you even think about getting control of what's really happening and understanding it, not only from a logistical standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint, right? And education costs money. You're going to pay to learn one way or the other, no matter what it is we do. So you're true. Adding structural steel or cold formed steel, I guess, rolled steel. So you have your own steel machines that you're making to actually add the extra support in your containers?
No, so actually we're just buying those pre-punched and pre-cut from vendors at the moment. Again, this kind of goes back to the incremental automation. And before we would, determine, what kind of stud rolling machine do we need? Do you need something that's going to be able to roll a 10-inch profile? Do you only need something that goes 8? So those are all the things that we're trying to make sure that we figure out and define before we go out and, and incrementally automate. So that, like you said, Dave, we're, 3 to 4 projects, right? And so that's where at the moment we're learning on our hybrid system, like, okay, this is what we think we want to do. Let's learn from it, take those learnings, design the next one a little bit differently. And then by the time we get to that 4th one, we think we're probably going to be in a much better position to be able to determine, okay, this is the type of stud rolling machine we need. This is the other areas we want to automate, all of that kind of stuff. Right. One thing that, at least for us, for Crate, the transition from doing containers to hybrid systems is really not much of a difference, because we are already working with all those same materials. It's just a matter of interchanging the structural backbone that you're starting with.
Right. To make it up. So mistakes. Have you made some mistakes? And if you have, what are the most important ones that you've made that you learned something from, other than all of them?
Yeah, I know. I wish I could, there was one mistake I could point to, but, I think really if I had to say, there's one mistake, it's trying to be all things to everybody. And sometimes, as either, a new modular company or one that's been in business, but trying to, gain market share, you have that tendency to want to say, yeah, we can do that. And I think there's taking a step back, just as a person who runs, a business like this, you got to be able to say no. And having the discipline to say no is often the difference between having a really great client outcome and a really poor client outcome. And, it's not, no to everything, but it's no to the things that, your factory just maybe isn't capable of, or in your experience, is better suited to be done in the field.
Yeah, well, they say saying no means saying yes to something else, right? And sometimes that something else is going to be much better than what you said no to. And staying in your sweet spot is all the world. That's the difference in being super successful in a manufacturing facility, is staying in your sweet spot, knowing what you do well, and sticking to it.
Yep, disciplined. Yeah. There's projects types that over the years I thought were going to be great for modular, and then we did them, and it's like, whoa, okay, hold on, this wasn't at all what we thought it was going to be. And you learn. And so there's great lessons, but having that discipline to really say, okay, these are the products that we're defining, and these are the products in the markets that we're going to play in, and really focusing on your strengths.
Yeah. Rich, I think this is such an eye opener for so many people out there that are looking to get into this space. And I think, we should really, opening up what everybody does and sharing this information has been happening across, the globe and on this show all the time. And I think you coming on here and talking about that is a big deal, especially with your background. You're not new to the modular space at all. Maybe to the crate, the shipping container business with Crate Modular, but outside of that, you have a world of knowledge, a world of experience, and I'm sure quite a few scars along the way that helps you make the right decisions moving this.
A lot of brain damage, as we like to say, learned good and bad.
Right.
It's helped us really make some good decisions, though, as we've gone on. So, I've seen a lot in my 10 years, and I can't believe how much the industry has grown from, when I first started in this business to where it is now. Nobody was automating anything when I first started, and now that's all you hear everybody talking about.
Yeah, for sure. So let's recap this conversation, right? We have rules-based design, define your product, define your manufacturing process, technology before automation, and incremental automation, and then step and repeat and continue to refine your product offering. Did I get it right?
That's right. And to sum it up, just nail it before you scale it.
Nail it before you scale it, right? That's right. I love it. I think, so many of the most successful companies in the world have the simplest processes that they understand, and they don't go outside of that. So I think that's amazing. But there's also people coming on, trying new things and doing great things. Hey, George Ryman out there. What's happening, George? I had breakfast with George right after Advancing Prefab in Phoenix, which was awesome. So always good to see people out there trying to make a difference. Rich, thank you so much for today. This has been absolutely awesome.
Thanks, Dave. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we love having you on. And for everybody else out there, if you need to learn anything, if you're not following Rich, you should be. If you're not following Crate Modular, you should be. They are doing it better. They are doing it now. They have buildings going up. If you're looking to get into manufacturing, Rich and all the other people that we have on the show on a regular basis are here to help. There's enough room for all of us in this industry.
That's right.
Old, young, new, never been in it, all of us. Hello from Honduras as well. So quick shout out there as well. So to Gilbert. All right, Rich, listen, don't go anywhere. We'll come back to you right after the outro. Everybody else, we will see you on Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be a lot of... I can't speak anymore, Rich. I'm losing my tongue. Wednesday's going to be a lot of fun. We will be live at 1 o'clock Eastern, so make sure you join us. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. My name is Dave Cooper. We will see you this Wednesday, Product Spotlight, 1 p.m. Hey, Rich, keep building what you're building. I'm going to come out in your next set, and I actually want to live stream your next set. Can we come out and do that with you?
Yeah, for sure. That'd be great. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I'd love to have it as well. All right, don't go anywhere, Rich. We'll come right back to you. Everybody else, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Dave.